Listen, I had been teaching combat protocols at the Galactic Defense Academy for 73 cycles. 73. I had trained Croxians, Velperi, even those insufferable Quillith who think they know everything about everything. Not once, not a single time, had any species questioned my grip demonstration. Not until the humans showed up. My name is Vorn Kellix, and I am, or rather was, considered the foremost expert in particle rifle operation across 400 systems. 400. My credentials were impeccable. My technique, flawless. My patience, legendary. But that day, that specific rotation when the first human exchange student walked into my advanced weapons training course, everything I thought I knew got turned inside out. The human's name was Marcus Reeves. Unremarkable appearance, really. Average height for his species, which meant short by galactic standards. Brown hair, brown eyes, nothing particularly intimidating about him. He smiled a lot. Too much, honestly. Made me nervous, that smile. Like he knew something the rest of us did not. All right, class, I announced, holding up the standard issue P-700 plasma rifle. The weapon hummed with contained energy. It's crystalline. No weight. Its translucent power core glowing that familiar blue. Today we cover proper grip mechanics for sustained fire situations. This technique has been perfected over millennia. Every major military force in the known galaxy uses this exact method. I demonstrated, carefully positioning my 3 primary fingers along the charging ridge, my secondary thumb wrapped over the stability groove, exactly as the manual specified. Textbook perfect. Notice the angle of my wrist. 37.5 degrees from the horizontal axis. This allows maximum energy transfer while minimizing recoil strain on the shoulder joint. The other students, a mix of 6 different species, all nodded along. They took notes on their data pads. They practiced the grip on their own training rifles. Everything was proceeding normally. Then Marcus raised his hand. "Yes, Cadet Reeves," I said, expecting some basic question about trigger discipline or sight alignment. "Professor Kellix, why are you holding it like that?" The room went quiet. Absolutely silent. You could have heard a Quillith shed a scale. I blinked, all 4 of my eyes, because surely I had misheard him. "Excuse me," I managed to say. "Your grip," Marcus continued, standing up and walking toward the front of the class. He moved with this casual confidence that should have been my first warning sign. "Why are you holding it like that? That seems, well, mechanically inefficient." Mechanically inefficient. Those words hung in the air like a bad smell. One of the Croxian students made a choking sound. A Velperi in the back row dropped her data pad. "Cadet Reeves," I said slowly, very slowly, because I was trying to remain professional despite the fact that this hairless primate had just insulted 73 cycles of teaching experience. "This is the standard grip. The only grip. It has been tested, refined, and approved by every military academy across the galaxy. Perhaps on your primitive, isolated little world, you do things differently, but here we follow protocols that have saved countless lives." Marcus nodded, still smiling that unsettling smile. Right, I get that. But can I ask, have you ever actually been in combat? Real combat, I mean." My scales bristled. "I have trained over 10,000 soldiers." "That is not what I asked." Marcus said that he was right. I had not. Academy professors rarely saw actual battlefield deployment. We were educators, not warriors. But that did not mean I did not know my subject matter. The grip is designed based on extensive research and testing. I protested. "Research," Marcus repeated, drawing out the word. "Okay, can I try something?" Before I could stop him, he picked up one of the training rifles from the equipment rack. He turned it over in his hands, examining it with what I can only describe as mild amusement. Then he held it in a way that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. His stance was all wrong. Weight distribution completely off. He gripped the rifle with one hand near the front, the other wrapped around the stock in this bizarre, uncomfortable-looking position. His shoulder was lowered. His feet were staggered. Everything about it violated every principle I had ever taught. "Cadet Reeves, that is completely incorrect," I said. "Is it though?" He aimed at the practice target downrange, 60 meters away. "Should I demonstrate?" "This is highly irregular." I sputtered. "I will take that as a yes," Marcus said. Then he fired. What happened next would haunt me for the rest of my career. The first shot hit dead center. Perfect bullseye. 60 meters, no warm-up, just bam. Right in the middle. Okay, fine. Lucky shot. Happens sometimes, even with terrible form. I had seen it before. Raw beginners occasionally got lucky. Then Marcus fired again. And again. And again. 0.5 shots. 5 perfect hits. Each one landed within a 2-centimeter grouping at the target's center mass. The practice rifle, which was notorious for its unpredictable recoil pattern, sat steady in his hands like it was bolted to a stabilization rig. His breathing remained calm. His stance, still wrong by every metric I knew, somehow absorbed each shot's kickback with minimal adjustment. Impossible, I whispered. Marcus lowered the rifle, engaged the safety with his thumb without even looking, and turned back to face me with that same infuriating smile. So, about that grip technique? The Croxian student, a female named Tala, raised her massive clawed hand. Professor, how did that should not be. What just happened? What just happened indeed? My brain was doing gymnastics trying to process what my eyes had witnessed. According to every law of physics, ergonomics, and weapon design I had ever studied, Marcus should have missed at least 3 of those shots. His form was atrocious. And yet, the results were undeniable. Cadet Reeves, I said, forcing my voice to remain steady. That was, well, adequate accuracy. However, accuracy means nothing if your technique causes long-term joint damage or muscle fatigue. The standard grip exists to protect the operator during extended engagements. Does it though? Marcus asked, walking back toward me. He still held the rifle in that bizarre configuration. Professor, can I ask you something? When was the last time this grip technique was actually updated? Updated. I blinked. It does not need updating. It is perfect. Humor me. When? I pulled up my data pad, scrolling through the Academy's historical records. The current standard was implemented approximately, let me see here, 4,612 cycles ago. For 1,000 years, Marcus said slowly. And in that time, weapons technology has advanced, right? Rifles are lighter now. Power cores are more efficient. Recoil dampeners are built into every modern weapon. Yes, obviously. I said. What is your point? My point is that your grip was designed for weapons that do not exist anymore. Marcus set the rifle down on the demonstration table. You are teaching people to compensate for problems that have already been solved by engineering. One of the Velperi students, a quiet one named Scylla, spoke up. But the Academy would have updated the protocols if they were inefficient. Surely someone would have noticed. Marcus shrugged. Would they? Think about it. How many instructors here have actually been in combat situations? How many have tested alternative techniques? When was the last time anyone questioned whether the old way was still the best way? The silence that followed was deafening. Because, and I absolutely hated to admit this, the human had a valid point. Training protocols at the Academy were based on historical precedent. We taught what had been taught to us, which had been taught to our instructors, going back millennia. Innovation was not exactly encouraged. Tradition was everything. This is ridiculous, I finally said. One lucky demonstration does not invalidate thousands of years of military science. Then let me try something else, Marcus said. Give me the advanced rifle. The M-900. Oh no. Oh, absolutely not. The M-900 was a beast. Twice the power output of the training rifle, with a recoil that could dislocate a shoulder if handled incorrectly. We only used it in senior-level courses, and even then, with extensive safety protocols. Absolutely not. I said, that weapon is far too dangerous for a first cycle student. I will sign a waiver, Marcus said. Come on, Professor. If I am wrong, you get to prove it. If I am right, well, maybe your academy learned something new. The other students were leaning forward now, completely invested in this confrontation. Tala was grinning, showing all her teeth. Scylla had her data pad out, probably recording this whole disaster. Even the normally stoic Quillith students looked interested. My pride, my professional reputation, my entire career was balanced on this moment. If I refused, I looked scared. If I agreed and Marcus failed, he would be humiliated, possibly injured. If I agreed and he succeeded, well, I did not want to think about that possibility. Fine, I heard myself say. But we are using the live fire range. Full safety protocols. And when you fail, Cadet Reeves, you will apologize to this entire class for wasting their time. Deal, Marcus said, extending his hand in that odd human gesture that I stared at his hand for a moment before awkwardly grasping it. His grip was firm. Confident, we walked to the live fire range, the entire class following behind us like we were headed to some kind of gladiatorial match. In a way, I suppose we were. The fate of my teaching methodology, my reputation, everything I had built my career upon, was about to be tested by a smiling primate with unconventional ideas. I retrieved the M-900 from the secure locker. The weapon was beautiful in a terrifying sort of way. Matte black casing, triple power cores, a scope system that could track targets moving at supersonic speeds. It weighed 14 kilograms fully loaded. I handed it to Marcus, expecting him to struggle with the weight. He did not even flinch. "Nice," he said, examining the rifle with genuine appreciation. "This is actually pretty similar to what we use back home. Well, aesthetically speaking, ours pack more punch." More punch. This rifle could punch through reinforced battle armor. What kind of weapons did humans carry? Marcus walked to the firing line, checked the power cores, adjusted the scope, and then settled into that same ridiculous stance. "Whenever you are ready, cadet," I said, trying to keep the nervousness out of my voice. "Target parameters?" Marcus asked. "Moving targets," I said, activating the range's advanced system. "Multiple hostiles. Varying speeds and distances. Standard combat simulation." "Perfect," Marcus said. He raised the rifle, and then he moved. I have seen a lot of things in my 73 cycles of teaching. I have seen students freeze up under pressure. I have seen overconfident cadets miss every single shot. I have seen equipment malfunctions, range accidents, and one memorable incident involving a Quillith who somehow managed to shoot himself in his own foot. But I had never, in all my years, seen anything like what Marcus Reeves did with that M-900. The targeting system activated. Holographic hostiles materialized downrange, moving in random patterns at various speeds. 10 targets. Some close, some far. Some stationary, most moving. Standard combat simulation, level 7 difficulty. Most senior students struggled with level 5. Marcus did not hesitate. He did not calculate. He just moved. The rifle came up smooth, almost lazy. His first shot took out a target moving left to right at 40 meters. The second shot, fired less than half a second later, dropped one sprinting directly toward his position. Third shot, fourth shot, fifth shot. Each one found its mark with mechanical precision. The M-900, which should have been bucking like an angry Croxian bull, remained steady in his grasp. Target 6 was airborne, simulating a jump assault. Marcus led it perfectly, anticipating its arc. Target 7 was partially obscured behind cover. He shot through the gap, hitting the vital zone. Targets 8 and 9 were flanking from opposite sides. He pivoted, dropped one, pivoted back, dropped the other. 10 targets. 14 seconds. 0 misses. The range went silent except for the hum of the rifle's cooling system. "Acceptable," Marcus said, lowering the weapon and engaging the safety. He was not even breathing hard. "Acceptable? Acceptable?" That was the most impressive display of marksmanship I had ever witnessed, and he called it acceptable? My scales were fluttering involuntarily, which only happens when I am extremely agitated or confused. Currently, I was both. Tala, the Croxian student, broke the silence first. "By the 7 moons of Croxer, that was incredible." "How?" Scylla asked, her voice barely a whisper. "How is that possible?" Marcus walked back toward us, carrying the M-900 like it weighed nothing. "It is not that complicated, actually. Human physiology is built for this kind of thing. Our shoulders rotate further than most species. Our wrists have exceptional flexibility. We evolved as persistence hunters, which means our fine motor control and hand-eye coordination are kind of our specialty. But the recoil," I protested, grasping for any argument that might make sense. "That weapon produces enough kickback to fracture a Velperi's arm." "Sure, if you fight it," Marcus said. "But why would you fight it? Your standard grip tries to rigidly control the recoil, which just transfers all that force directly into your joints. My way, I am working with the weapon's natural movement, absorbing and redirecting the energy through my whole body, not just my arms." He demonstrated in slow motion, showing how his stance allowed him to roll with each shot's impact. His knees flexed slightly. His core rotated. His shoulders acted as shock absorbers. It looked effortless because he was not resisting the physics. He was flowing with them. Humans have been doing this for what, 300 years? Marcus continued. Since we invented firearms back on Earth. We have had a lot of time to figure out what works. No offense, Professor, but sometimes the new species on the block has ideas worth considering. New species. 300 years of firearm experience versus our 4,000 years of energy weapon doctrine. And somehow, impossibly, their shorter history had produced better results. My pride was dying a slow, painful death. This changes nothing, I said, though even I could hear how weak that sounded. One student's performance does not invalidate established protocols. Then let us test it scientifically, Marcus suggested. Have the other students try my grip. Compare their accuracy, their fatigue levels, their shot groupings. Collect actual data instead of just following tradition because it is tradition. The other students were already moving toward the weapons rack. I could see the excitement in their eyes. They wanted to try this new technique. They wanted to see if they could replicate Marcus's results. My carefully structured lesson plan was dissolving into chaos. Wait, I called out. This is highly irregular. We cannot just abandon centuries of military doctrine because one human showed up and proved that doctrine might be outdated. Marcus finished for me. Look, Professor Kellix, I am not trying to embarrass you. Honestly, I am trying to help. Back on Earth, we have this saying. If it is stupid but it works, it is not stupid. Before I could respond, the range alarm started blaring. Red emergency lights flooded the facility. My data pad lit up with an urgent message that made my blood run cold. Attention, all personnel. This is not a drill. Hostile forces have breached the Academy's perimeter. Security teams are engaged. All combat-trained staff and advanced students report to defensive positions immediately. Real combat. Actual hostiles. The Academy had not faced a genuine threat in over 200 cycles. Our defense protocols were theoretical, untested in real conditions. And now, right now, while my entire worldview was being turned upside down by a human with unconventional grip techniques, we were under attack. Marcus was already moving, checking the M-900's power cores and slinging it over his shoulder. How many hostiles? I checked my pad with shaking hands. Sensors show 15 contacts. Unknown species. Heavily armed. They have already taken out 2 security checkpoints. 15, Marcus repeated, his smile finally fading into something more serious. Something that made him look dangerous. Professor, I need you to trust me. Give your students a choice. They can use your grip, or they can use mine. But they need to decide right now, because people are about to die, and I would prefer it not be us. The other students were looking at me, waiting for orders. Waiting for their professor to tell them what to do. This was my academy. My responsibility. My decision. I looked at Marcus, at the rifle in his hands, at the results I had just witnessed. Every instinct I had screamed that this was wrong, that I should stick to what I knew. But another part of me, a part one had not listened to in a very long time, whispered that maybe, just maybe, it was time to try something different. All right, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Everyone, listen to Cadet Reeves. Learn his technique. We have approximately 5 minutes before those hostiles reach this section. Marcus nodded once, then turned to address the class. Okay, people, here is how a human holds a rifle. Pay attention, because your life might depend on it. And that is how I, Vorn Kellix, decorated professor and weapons expert, found myself taking combat lessons from a first-cycle human student while hostile forces marched toward our position. The universe, I decided, had a truly twisted sense of humor. 5 minutes is not a lot of time to relearn everything you thought you knew about holding a rifle. But when hostile forces are marching toward your position with weapons that go boom, you find motivation you did not know existed. Marcus worked fast, moving from student to student, adjusting grips, correcting stances, explaining the biomechanics in terms even I could understand. And I hated how much sense it made. The flexibility in the wrists. The lower center of gravity. The way the entire body became a shock absorption system instead of fighting against physics. Remember, Marcus said, his voice calm despite the blaring alarms, you are not wrestling the weapon. You are partnering with it. Let it move. You move with it. Trust your body, not the manual. Trust your body, not the manual. That sentence alone would have gotten him expelled from my class 3 days ago. Now it might save our lives. The door to the range exploded inward. Not metaphorically. Actually exploded. Smoke and debris filled the entrance as figures moved through the haze. Tall, armored, carrying weapons that looked far too advanced for common raiders. These were professionals. Contact front. Tala roared, her Croxian battle instincts kicking in immediately. Spread out. Find cover, I shouted, my training instructor voice cutting through the panic. Fire on my command. But Marcus did not wait for commands. He was already moving, rifle up, stance wide. The first hostile cleared the smoke, and Marcus put 2 shots into its chest plate before it could even acquire a target. The hostile went down hard. Shoot where the armor is weak, Marcus called out, dropping behind a support pillar. Joints, neck seals, lower abdomen. Center mass is wasted on these guys. The students scattered, taking positions behind equipment racks and reinforced barriers. I crouched behind the instructor's console, my own rifle feeling suddenly awkward in my hands. Should I use my grip, the one I had taught for 73 cycles? Or should I trust this human's method? A plasma bolt sizzled past my head, making the decision for me. Survival beats pride every single time that I adjusted my grip, mimicking what Marcus had shown us. Hands repositioned. Stance widened. Weight shifted forward. It felt wrong and right at the same time, like wearing boots on the wrong feet that somehow walked better. 2 hostiles pushed through the smoke. I aimed, breathed, and fired. The rifle settled in my hands differently, the recoil flowing through my body instead of jarring my shoulder. My first shot missed. My second caught one hostile in the neck seal. It collapsed. Professor Kellix hit something. Scylla shouted from across the room, genuine surprise in her voice. He actually hit something. Focus on your own targets. I yelled back, but I was grinning. Actually grinning in the middle of a firefight because that shot felt good. Better than any shot I had made in decades of target practice. The battle turned into chaos. The kind of beautiful, terrible chaos that only happens when training meets reality. Tala was roaring in Croxian, her shots hammering into hostiles with methodical precision. Scylla had climbed onto an equipment rack, using elevation for better angles. The Quillith students fought in coordinated pairs, covering each other's reloads. And Marcus? Marcus moved through the fight like he had done this 1,000 times before. He was everywhere, repositioning constantly, calling out targets, covering gaps in our defensive line. Every shot counted. Every movement had purpose. This was not his first combat situation. Not even close. Grenades, someone shouted. 2 cylindrical objects arced through the smoke toward our positions. My brain froze. Training had not prepared me for this. Simulations did not capture the raw terror of seeing actual explosives flying at your face. Marcus was already moving. He sprinted forward, caught one grenade mid-air with his offhand, and threw it back through the doorway in one fluid motion. The second grenade he kicked, sending it skittering across the floor toward the hostile's position. Both explosives detonated on their side of the room. The blast wave knocked 2 more hostiles down. Marcus put shots into both before they could recover. Is anyone else seeing this? One of the Quillith students asked, his voice cracking. Did the human just catch a grenade? Eyes on your sector. Marcus barked, and the Quillith snapped back to attention. The fight lasted maybe 3 minutes. Felt like 3 hours. When the smoke finally cleared, all 15 hostiles were down. Security teams arrived 30 seconds later, which was helpful of them. Really, perfect timing. The ranking security officer, a grizzled Velperi named Commander Tix, surveyed the scene with all 6 of his eyes. What happened here? Training exercise gone live, I said, trying to sound professional despite the fact that I was shaking. Cadet Reeves led the defensive response. Commander Tix looked at Marcus, then at the downed hostiles, then back at Marcus. Cadet? First cycle cadet? This cadet? That cadet? I confirmed. Huh, Commander Tix said, which pretty much summed up my entire day. After the security teams cleared the area and medics checked everyone for injuries, I found Marcus sitting on an equipment crate, cleaning the M-900 with practiced efficiency. So, I said, sitting down next to him. My legs were still wobbly. That grip technique of yours. Yeah. Marcus looked up, that smile returning. I think, I said slowly, carefully, because these words hurt my pride but needed to be said. I think maybe the Academy's training protocols could use an update. Perhaps we could arrange for you to give a demonstration to the senior staff. Share your methods. Officially. Marcus's smile widened. You mean you want me to teach the teachers how to hold a rifle? I mean, I said firmly, that I want the best techniques available taught to students whose lives depend on them. And today, you prove that sometimes the best techniques come from unexpected sources. Even if those sources are short, overly confident humans who ask too many questions. I will take that as a compliment, Marcus said. It was not meant as one, I replied. But I was smiling too. The Academy would update its protocols. Commander Tix had already put in the request before leaving. 73 cycles of teaching methodology gone. Replaced by lessons from a species that had only been in space for, 50 years, but the students were alive. All of them. Because we adapted. Because we listened. Because sometimes, the person asking why are you holding it like that is not being difficult. They are being smart. I looked at Marcus, who was now explaining rifle maintenance to Tala using terms I had never heard before. The human caught me watching and gave a small nod. I nodded back. Sometimes the best teachers are the ones who make you realize you still have things to learn. Even after 73 cycles. Especially after 73 cycles, the universe, I decided, might have a twisted sense of humor. But at least it kept things interesting. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.